So Colt, for people that don't know you, could you just give us a little introduction, please?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a full-time carnivore bodybuilding coach. Most of my clients are competitive athletes, and Carnivore Coaches Corner is probably the best place to find me. It's my podcast. We're available on all platforms. I'm also a bass player that just got done playing for our church down the road. Other than that, it's pretty much me in a nutshell. Have a beautiful wife and two beautiful kids.
Excellent. That's really good. Really, really good. And thank you again for supporting this. You were on here last year and you were brilliant and everybody loved you. So here you are back again. And one of the things I'd like to ask you about is something you've really got into this year. It's not something I do very much and I'm still too shy to do it. And that's on Instagram. You do some remixes. So if you could just tell a little bit about that and the keto sucks thing that you talk about.
Okay. Yeah. So I figured out that I've gotten creative at starting an argument and then watching and then just watching everybody kind of throw in their 2 cents worth and then just watch the comments unfold. And so it's been a great way to get exposure. It's been a lot of fun, actually. I feel kind of like a jerk doing it because it's not really who I am. Like if somebody's saying something negative about the carnivore diet or the keto diet, the way that I would handle that situation in public is much different than I would handle it like on a reel that I'm creating for Instagram, for example. Much in the much in the way that I learned this from Bart Kate, right? He is a very, very nice man, very, very nice gentleman when you talk to him one-on-one, like one of the nicest people on planet Earth. But when you watch him rip apart Lame Norton or somebody else, you're gonna see a side of him that is like, whoa, I wouldn't want to. It grabs your attention, right? So, having learned that, yeah, I don't know. I would say that probably like less than 5% of my content is actually the stuff that like 90% of people see at first. But I'm hoping that people see that at first and then, see like what I'm doing with my clients or what I'm learning lately. I'm always learning something from you and from Richard, usually every time especially that conversation that Richard, you and I had last week on our other show, like I've listened to it 5 times and I'm still going back and taking notes on it again. So
I appreciate that, and likewise. I mean, it's this is a community of learning. I don't think anybody knows all the answers, and it's the saying, isn't it? If you're the smartest person in the room, then you're in the wrong room. I think it's always important to learn new things, and that's what we all endeavor to do. This is a learning process.
Right.
Yeah.
It's Stephen. Sorry, you asked you asked a question at the start of that, and I just wanted to make sure that I answered it. But about like the purpose of the content of the reels and everything. So, yeah. The hashtag keto sucks. So, I figured out that if you type in the hashtag keto sucks, that'll show you other coaches that are specifically saying something negative. But like if you type in that hashtag, whoever made a reel using that hashtag took time out of their day to go talk garbage about something that I believe in and that you believe in and that is really important to all of us. And I kind of have a problem with that. And so those people are kind of the coaches that, let me put it this way. I would never say something negative or say something mean to another coach that I really genuinely believe is just spreading misinformation unintentionally, just like out of the bottom of their heart, but they really mean good. Because I think there's a lot of coaches that preach calories in, calories out, and they mean it, but they're nice people, And there's people that preach plant-based diets and they're wrong, but they're very, very nice people. And so I'm not gonna, I guess I'm not my battle isn't with those people. My battle is with the other coaches that are seriously on a mission to say something negative about the carnivore diet. And so those are the ones that I'm, not very nice when I call them out.
Yeah, and they know what they're doing. That's the thing. They will misinterpret studies, and they will also give you, if you're lucky, half the story. Some of them don't even give you half the story. I mean, my favourite one is the one I saw with the guy waving a bit of bread. I think I bored people with this before, and he said, "There's only 8 grams of carbs in this, or whatever it was. I can't remember exactly what he said about the bread, but it was just a small amount of carbs, but the context was wrong because it's more than the blood glucose you need in 5 liters of blood. But so there was no context, and nobody eats 1 slice of bread. They eat 2 slices of bread, and they have jam and they have this, and it's just like, well, that's obviously trying to belittle or minimize the carbohydrates in bread, but doing it in such a way was obvious that there's a smoke and mirrors technique, because nobody eats bread on its own, 1 single slice. It's a ridiculous thing to say. Now, if he'd have said, here I have a typical sandwich that a vegan eats, this is how much carbohydrate is in there. Yeah, fair enough. I would take my hat off to that, but they don't do that. Anyway, Colt,
Right.
The problem you've got is you're too nice, you see, and it goes against your brain, because that's why I can't do it, because there are some people, I mean, I scream at the football, by the way, because my voice is on today, but, and I think, I can't believe they're putting out this absolute garbage information. And, I want to shout at them, but I'm too nice about things. So anyway, I like what you do, because part of me wishes I could do it, but I can't do it.
You're too nice.
Okay, right. Now, we got some questions, if you want to go for it. And like I just said to Dr. Abs, if you don't fancy it, you don't have to answer it, and you can say, well, let's hear Richard first, or me first, whatever. So, carnivore for 8 months, blood markers good, except cholesterol LDL-C has gone up from 125 to 425. Any reason for concern? Could it be positive to add some carbs if I'm a lean mass Harper responder?
So blood markers are good, except for cholesterol. LDL has gone up from 125. How long has Tobias? How long have you been on the carnivore diet, man? If you're
8 months. 8 months.
8 months, okay. Oh, there,
Yeah.
I would. Okay, so this is just my context. I'm not a doctor, and so this is just what I tell everybody. I have high LDL, and these are all my clients, and every single one of them has. I have to write them down, or I forget. make sure everybody's taking count of it. That we're talking every day, but every single one of them has high LDL. Every single one of them looks better than their doctor, because most of them are competitive bodybuilders. and so I say, send them a picture of yourself to your doctor that's trying to sell you statins, and ask them if they still think that you are at risk for heart disease. Also ask them where your triglycerides are at. And I haven't had one person come back saying that, yeah, I'm still at risk for heart disease. So that's cool. I'm not sure if you guys would agree with that, but
Richard?
Yeah, spot on. It's my overall cholesterol last time I tested, it was double figures. My and these are UK numbers. My LDL was 8.26, I think, which is higher than most people's total. And to be honest, if anything, I wish it were higher. LDL heals and repairs the body. LDL isn't inherently damaging to the body. The damage comes from glycation and oxidative stress caused by excess carbohydrate consumption and vegetable oil consumption. If we are eating natural fats, then the cholesterol isn't a problem. Every cell in your body is made of cholesterol. It's essential for cell formation, cell communication, nutrient absorption, nutrient transportation, the production of hormones, and it's essential for healing. And if you don't consume it, as Stephen mentioned on the last live I think we did, your body will make it. It's essential for life. We can't live without cholesterol. We shouldn't be fearing something that is created naturally within the body. We can get into detail in regards to what I believe causes the damage, but maybe we can circle back to that once we've heard a little bit more from Colt. But seed oils are not the way forward. Let's put it at that. And we have spoken and touched base a number of times on this in regards to its effects within the body. But I wouldn't be concerned. Triglycerides, that's a more important marker, and more importantly, the triglyceride to HDL ratio is probably one of the biggest indicators, and we can see from that, from those figures, then whether your cholesterol is pattern A or pattern B. Pattern A is where we want to be. The pattern B is glycated and oxidized. That's where we don't want to be. but we can work that out from the numbers. So let's see if those figures come back, and we can go from there.
Yeah. So some love. Colt, you're getting some love from Polish Mike here. Colt is a great carnivore athlete.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'll cut you off. Carry on.
I was just gonna say a key word probably to your point, Richard. What you were saying. We don't know if triglycerides or if HDL are reliable markers, but there's definitely you need to be you can be more relaxed about your LDL than HDL and triglycerides. But yeah, we don't know for sure on those. But I guess just one more thing that I wanted to say on heart disease and LDL too is that I think that last question the last person asked about reintroducing carbs and whether that would be a good idea or not. Was that part of the question?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if so, I was just I just did a couple weeks ago, I did basically 20 or 30 hours of research on fiber, and we did an entire podcast on it because that's just one of the biggest things that I've noticed lately is that removing fiber from my diet, even more so than carbs, I think is my favorite aspect of the carnivore diet. But one of the studies that I found, I don't have a way to drop this in the chat right now, but if anybody wants to write this down or Google it, it's just called "Are Statin Drugs Destroying Your Muscles?" Bottom line Inc. And then, yeah, I think that was the only one. But that study, and then here's one called "The Rate of Cardiovascular Disease Mortality Was Reported to Be Inversely Associated with Fiber Intake Across 20 Industrialized Nations." I think that's the title of this one. So a Google search of that could find it too. Oh, no, here it is. A statement for healthcare professionals from the Nutrition Committee, American Heart Association. Anyway, these two studies that I have right here in front of me, they show how fiber and carbohydrates not only don't reduce the risk, but they can contribute to it. And we still have no evidence of whether LDL has anything to do with it or not. And I think that, so two episodes before the one that you and I just recorded on our show, Carnivore Coach's Corner, we went into depth for fiber on for like an hour or two.
Yeah, fantastic. And another important thing to mention about fiber is that, we can get, the reason we think that it's good for us is, and I'm sure you've mentioned this in there, that fiber breaks down into a short chain fatty acid called butyrate, which attaches itself to the colonocyte and feeds the colonocyte. But that butyrate further breaks down into beta hydroxybutyrate, whether you're ketogenic or not. The beauty of living a ketogenic and carnivore-based lifestyle is we have beta hydroxybutyrate flowing through our veins constantly. So we feed every colonocyte in the gut, whether we are consuming butyrate from plants or not. But that said, animal proteins also contain other short-chain fatty acids in the form of isobutyrate, valerate, and propionate, which arguably feed the colonocyte at a higher rate. And we know this from the talk we had with Anthony Chafee earlier today, and as we mentioned, the podcast.
Good, but I caught part of that one.
Yeah, fantastic as always. And the chat that we did with Ben Azadi in regards to the alpha diversity in his gut when he removed, basically he was tested. Yeah, they paid an absolute fortune for tests. Ben Azadi has been ketogenic for a long time, so in a good state of health. But his alpha diversity was okay, but not brilliant. And he was advised to increase grains and greens and things, to which he was obviously taken out because it was a 90-day carnivore challenge and only eat meat. At the end of the 90 days, the alpha diversity in his gut had improved. His triglycerides, I think, had come down. His LDL had increased also. So all proof positive that living this lifestyle does everything that we needed to. I don't see any benefit to eating fiber unless you're consuming a poor diet, and that may offset the bioavailability on some of the nutrients going in there. It might reduce, the insulin spike, but I mean, there's all sorts of books coming out now in regards to how fiber is beneficial. It's not beneficial, and it's only beneficial if you eat shit. If you don't add shit, then
Don't read
That is-
any of those books. Read this book. This book will change your life.
Yeah.
It's called Fiber Menace, and yeah, I mean I've read it twice. I'm still trying to wrap my brain around a lot of the concepts that this guy talks about. But if you read this book cover to cover, you will never want to eat 1 gram of fiber again the rest of your life. That's how
Yeah.
that's how bad it is for you. It causes bloat. It's the only reason that like I can see any use for it is it's basically like a laxative, right? Like if there's something that's stuck, like if you're constipated, like yeah, fiber is gonna get it out, but it's forceful though, and then it damages, and it damages the small intestine that's made to that it basically looks like a giant garden hose. And just looking at the way that the small intestine looks, like big objects aren't supposed to go through it. And that's basically what's happening when you eat fiber.
Yeah. And why would you want to speed up transit time? I mean, food is there to be absorbed at different points through the digestive process. Speeding up digestion is never a good idea. This is what leads to lack of bioavailability in nutrients. But yeah, fiber is not your friend. If you eat a rubbish diet, then that may help negate some of it. But the answer to this is don't eat crap.
Yeah.
Eat real food, i.e. animal proteins.
I think the biggest place where I see fiber abused in bodybuilding is people use it for volume. This volume addiction is very, very real, right? Like everybody wants their portion sizes to be big when they're cutting, especially if they're cutting for a bodybuilding show. And if you're doing a bodybuilding show in the first place, Rich, you and I just talked about this last week. You got a little bit of this body dysmorphia or like something something going on that's just kind of makes us a little unique in the way that we actually really want to see veins in our abs, right? Like even though it's not the healthiest thing to do. But when you're on a bodybuilding contest prep, you're trying to, generally speaking, reduce the amount of mass that you're taking in and increase your expenditure, and so that you're burning body fat, and so you're getting really, really lean. And one of the easiest apparently ways to do that is to incorporate lots of fiber, which is what most coaches generally recommend, right? And it causes damage in your gut. It steals nutrients from your meat. It steals nutrients from other foods that you should be getting nutrients from. It bloats you. It doesn't satiate you. There's a big difference between being full and being bloated, and people confuse the two. So just because you're eating something that's large doesn't mean that you're going to be full. Now you're bloated, but you're still going to be hungry after you just ate that meal that had fiber in it. So on this prep, I'm currently 8 weeks out now from my next competition. I put that in quotation marks because I'm actually not competing. I'm guest posing. I'm going to be playing guitar, singing, and co-hosting a bodybuilding competition in Seattle, Washington. So I'm wearing and I'm coaching 3 athletes there too. So I'm wearing like 5 different hats at this show. But between now and then, I'm going to be pretty close to bodybuilding conditioning, but not quite. Basically classic physique conditioning. So my entire goal between now and then is not to be bloated, is to be full. And I haven't been hungry one time on this entire prep. Learn this from you guys, minimizing my cardio. That's been helping a lot. But yeah, sorry, all that to say that's kind of the biggest area where I see fiber to be a problem in the bodybuilding space.
That's great. I'm just going to deal with one of the things in the chat, or 2 of the things actually. Any credence to the blood type diet? None. Tammy Lee, I have done a decade of private blood tests for high carb athletes when I was a personal trainer, and I actually got somebody to the Olympics doing lots of bloods for performance, but also in my obesity and diabetes clinic. So I've done the full gambit of high performance right to very sick people, and there's absolutely nothing to the blood type diet, nothing at all. So if you've got blood type A, all it is your antigens are on the blood cell and the B antibodies are in your plasma. And if it's blood group B, then it's the other way around. Simple as that. And to be honest, there's nothing to it at all. Right, that's that. Second thing is, just very quickly, I do the Sorol products. Now, we've been online over 12 hours. We don't hawk our stuff. We don't sell our stuff. I'm only mentioning this because it is in the chat. So if somebody's interested in Stem Enhance or any of the Sorol product, I don't know what Colt is doing, but he's making lots of noise. I do take that.
Grabbing my stem cell. I'm a fan. I was just gonna say, since you guys are talking about it, I just wanted you to know that I'm
right.
you guys. Yeah, it's good stuff.
So it is very good. So there's a few people talking in the chat. Right, okay, now let's get back to the start questions. Oh, and on the LDL, if people want studies to prove what we're talking about, I've got the studies. You can email me, zerocarbcoach@gmail.com. We've also got Dr. Philip Avadia coming on later, who's a heart surgeon. He can talk about that if you want. And we may even get Dr. Abs talking about it because everyone seems to love him. And
I was gonna say that guy was brilliant. I was like, man, I gotta follow him. Wow, okay.
he was amazing, absolutely amazing.
I'd never heard of him before. I was like, what the heck? Cool.
No, so right. So,
good job.
what do you think the skin benefits of eating? What are the skin benefits of eating a carnivorous diet?
Ooh, good one. Yeah, I'd never get sunburned ever. That's been the biggest thing. That and wearing sunglasses too. I don't know if that's like a thing where you guys are at, but here, wearing sunglasses. I've noticed that since I stopped doing that, and since I cut out all plant products, I can spend as much time in the sun as I want, and I get brown, but I don't get sunburned. So that's kind of cool. Oh, that and when I go from just normal carnivore to lion, that's when I have like a handful of zits. So I did the lion diet twice this last year. I did it once for 49 days and once for 60 days. I just did it for 30 days, and then I was like, well, I don't know. It was like the one diet that I didn't want to stop when I got done with it. I was like, this is great. Let's just go for another few weeks. But whenever I go to the lion diet, my skin my skin around my forehead is great. I wear hats a lot. I work out a lot, so I sweat a lot. And so that's kind of where they start to like gather. So whenever I reintroduce dairy, they kind of flare up. I don't know. It's worth it. I like dairy. And whenever they get too bad, I just go back to the lion diet again.
Yeah. Now, I was thinking, Rich, you might pop in with this as well because you had some skin issues. I had skin issues. I'll get mine out of the way. Used to look like somebody had got a strawberry and smashed it against my forehead, especially if I was stressed. And I used to have athlete's foot. Both of those are gone. So completely gone on the carnivorous way of eating. They went pretty much on keto, but carnivore absolutely put the tin lid on it. Running this 24-hour live stream is pretty stressy, getting everybody together. I know we've only had one no-show. I'm not going to moan at him because he's 6'3". But, it is stressy. So 15 years ago, if I'd done this, I would have had a big stress spot here, definitely, and I would have had terrible athlete's foot, and I don't get any of that. So, yeah, Rich, what about you? Because you had skin problems as well, I believe.
Yeah, I had severe skin conditions to the point where you'll be hard-pressed to find a picture of me that my face wasn't covered in. I used to refer to it as acne, but they were boils all over my face. And, I'm not embarrassed to say that I used to put makeup on. I used to hide them with concealer because they were that bad. And laugh, why don't you? Thanks, Steve. But, they were all over my back, my face. And since even just becoming keto, they've cleared up no end. And I barely get any at all now that I'm carnivore. And it's because I believe these are autoimmune issues. The compounds that we consume on a standard diet, in particularly wheat germ agglutinin and phytohemagglutinins and other compounds like alcohol and casein in some cases, they can cause intestinal permeability. In wheat germ agglutinins case, it binds to the enterocytes line in the gut, causes the release of a molecule called zonulin. When zonulin is released, it causes a gap to appear in the tight junction, which allows undigested protein molecules to travel into the bloodstream where they shouldn't be. So the body creates antibodies to fight them. And then through a process called molecular mimicry, the body starts attacking other proteins that look the same. And this is autoimmune disease. Autoimmune disease comes from intestinal permeability. And at least in most cases, it's bread or grains in the form of wheat germ agglutinin that's causing this. And again, just to reiterate, there are other compounds in plants in the form of phytohemagglutinin which can also do the same. But I believe that these are primarily or predominantly autoimmune issues. And when we heal the gut, which I believe is job number one in improving health and well-being, all of these other things clear up. I know we spoke to Dr. Abs about psoriasis. Again, that's an autoimmune issue. And this is why I believe that living a carnivore lifestyle sees a massive improvement, if not complete resolution in those sorts of conditions also. Healing the gut, that's got to be the first protocol. But yeah, I mean, it's, I'm no oil painting, but I don't look too shabby for 40, I think, and I'm not suffering with any skin conditions. And I also live, an incredibly stressful life, being self-employed, doing this, it's super stressful, and that too would lead to flare-ups with myself. But again, so far, I think we're 12 and a half hours in. So far, so good.
Yeah, it does feel like we've done something. We've got to this bit. So let's have a look at this question. If type 1 diabetes is characterized by polyuria and low blood glucose, while type 2 is high insulin, is type 2 ever characterized by polyuria? I don't really understand the point of the question, but let's just go through this. Why do people that have diabetes, why do they have thirst, and why do they urinate a lot? And that's because the body is trying to be smart. And if there's too much blood glucose, it will dilute it with fluid and it will excrete it out. So, you can have these symptoms on both these types of diabetes. So type 1 is the lack of insulin. So what happens is your blood glucose is going to go high because you haven't got enough insulin. So obviously the treatment is more insulin. Yeah. Type 2 diabetics have high blood glucose. They also have high insulin. It's just not coming out of the bloodstream. So one of their things is thirst and urination. So yeah, I don't really get the point of the question unless you two guys are spotting something I'm not spotting.
No.
Right. Okay. We'll move on then. Just clarify that, Mary, why you're asking that, and we'll do that. Right. Okay. This is really for Rich, but maybe Colt will have a say as well. But anyway, does actually say, Richard, do the pork and beef drippings I collect oxidize? I'm thinking about your comments re fish oil.
Yeah, so when it comes to fish oil, and we did mention this with Dr. Abs also, oil is prone to oxidation. This is why I wouldn't supplement with fish oil. If you want to obtain fish oil, then eat fish. If you want cod liver, eat cod liver. Can you collect the beef dripping? I guess we will oxidize over time. I don't believe it's a problem in the short term. I always reuse the dripping. I recook. It doesn't last that long because I like to eat it.
It's a problem.
Yeah, it's
you eat it because it's nice.
Yeah. So look, I don't think it's an issue. Not in the amount of time that's going to take for you to consume it. Pork. Pork, the argument with pork is that it has a higher linoleic content, and I think it's around 20% from memory, which is like 10 times higher than beef. But the argument would be if the pork is fresh in the first place, then it's there's no problem. It's not oxidized. The spanner in the works there for me is if we are buying bacon, then bacon has a long shelf life, so possibly prone to oxidation that way. But my pork I buy from a local farmer. It's not grain fed. It's fed, from all the scraps from the farm. So it's one of the better qualities of pork. I don't believe it causes any harm to me. That said, I only eat it, say, once a week. And the same with chicken. Chicken, I also believe the chicken, grain fed. I don't believe that it's suitable for optimal health. I believe grass-fed lamb to be superior to beef. Only marginally. I believe grass-fed beef to be super nutrient dense and incredibly healthy, but lamb, in my opinion, may just beat that. The reason that we don't see this is the states are predominantly grass-fed beef, and you can correct me if I'm wrong with this, Colt, but lamb isn't so prevalent in the states. But it
is. It's just like twice as expensive, but man, but it's worth it, man. It's so damn good.
Yeah. I agree. And also, lamb is a lot higher in omega-3s, which is going to offset any oxidation within the body. It's around 10 times higher, I think, than beef in omega-3s. But look, in answer to your question, I don't think it's going to be a problem. Yes, collect it, reuse it, eat it, enjoy it. There's far bigger fish, pardon the pun, to fry.
Hey, nice.
This is one of the. Oh, sorry. I was going to add something, but if you were going to say something first, Stephen, go ahead.
What's a question for you, Colt? Any animal fat preference? They're suggesting tallow, lard, bacon, grease, and butter. Do you have a preference for animal?
Yeah, that is so funny because what I wanted to say answers that question too. So, pork. I wanted to ask your guys' opinion on this too, actually. But what I wanted to add on to what Richard was saying is, I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but or if you have ever seen this, but I do great on just bacon, or better yet, just the fat of bacon, but like nothing else from the pig. So like pork chops, those will digest. Those will seriously take twice as long to digest. And I know that because I pretty much always eat 1 or 2 meals a day. And if I get all my protein from beef, I'll poop once the next morning. Easy, no problem. If I have pork, that delays that process. Not to be TMI. Using bacon fat, that always increases my my ketone ratings, and I'm pretty sure that it's like way higher in omega-3s than beef fat is. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure. So maybe that's why. But I just do particularly well on bacon and on pig fat, but not from the protein so much. So animal fat preference, yeah, lard. Big one for me. Like that's always like the first one that I try to get. Like anybody that comes to me for a consultation or like first time meal plan, butter, beef, and bacon. That should be like most of your fat sources.
Yeah, I mean,
also asking about tallow. Yeah, and tallow. We render our own at home. I kind of feel like tallow is a no brainer. I don't know if you guys buy your own tallow over there, but I render all of mine. It's just a byproduct of any beef that we cook, right? So,
good answer. Yeah, I mean, here, what I do with tallow, we get beef dripping. You can get it from the cooking, or you can buy a little tub of beef dripping, and then I whisk it. So you have that whipped tallow effect, which is absolutely gorgeous. Pigs, of course, when you talk about pig fat, which is an interesting way of putting it, yeah, rather than bacon grease, but yes, pig fat.
Yes, sorry, what came to mind.
Yeah, let's go. Pigs used to actually be more fatty, and they're naturally more of a fat animal. And then there was a shift in consumer spending, and they wanted more muscle on the pigs. So the pigs that you see today actually have more, although they're still quite fatty, actually have more muscle than the natural pig. So if you're having great results from it, it's not a surprise for me. I don't think. I think I do well with bacon very much, and pork I absolutely love. But I do think it's down to the supplier, because we were having pork chops from 2 different farms and really wasn't that nice. And then we found another supplier who is a butcher that's got a great farmer attached. And the difference is like unbelievable, like chalk and cheese, really. So when people are saying, like, Colt has just said, I really do well with this, and you might buy it from a different area in a different part of the world or whatever, and think, well, it doesn't do it for me. It might just be the supplier. Don't immediately give up. Try a different distribution network, or a different farm or whatever. Try and find out how the pig is fed, if it's pasture raised, if it's, caged, whatever. All of these things will make a big difference. But in general, that list you've put there, have I got a preference? Tallow, lard, bacon, grease, butter. Depends what you're doing. So cooking in lard, I can't have a preference. It's all great.
And then Stephen, even like pork belly versus bacon too. Like if pork belly doesn't work for you, try bacon, because there's people because like Lucky Crim, she's one of my clients. Like she has issues with pork belly. She gets histamine flare-ups with it, but she does just fine on bacon. It's like more processed stuff, I guess.
Okay, so let's have a look at the next one.
Before we get into that, Steve, I'm just going to nip quickly to the little boys' room. Not too bad considering we are, 12 hours and 40 minutes in, but only the second time for a quick trip. I will be back as quickly as I can.
Right, okay. So let's just have a look.
I was gonna tell him if it's clear, he's overhydrated. If it's yellow, he's dehydrated. But I think he knows that.
Right, hang on a minute. You have been great guests. Right, right. I can't find a really pertinent question just for you because I was hoping there'd be a few more sort of training related questions, Colt. But I think what's happened is people have got really into just the whole carnivore thing. And
great. I would rather talk about that because like anybody can teach you how. Because anybody can teach you how to work out, but everybody's biggest problem with their weight loss journey is not their working out; it's their diet.
Do this. Yeah,
if they can get their diet figured out, you don't even have to work out.
This is a great question.
But I think nobody does their diet right, though. Okay, let's go ahead.
I think I'm going to do strict lion because of most of my problems. Because most of my problems are gone, but I still have some lingering things. How long did you do it?
Okay. Who's after me? Jake Thomas is after me, right?
Jake Thomas is after you. Yes.
Oh yeah, Kayla. So stick around because Jake Thomas is like 10 times cooler than I am, and he's the one. He's the one that talked me into the carnivore diet on our podcast, actually. So I don't know. I think
should we get him on in a second, and then you can have a little bit of a chat.
There we go. Just want to name that question for him. I'd love to talk about the lion diet, but yeah, whatever.
Yeah, no. Let's do this lion diet question.
Oh,
yeah,
okay. Yeah. Oh, well, okay. So yeah, I like to do it with somebody. I don't like to do it by myself because then we can text each other like a weekend do it and like, how are you doing with no coffee? Like life sucks. Yeah, life sucks for me too. We'll check in. Like cutting coffee is the worst part of it. Let's see. Yeah. Artificial sweeteners and caffeine. Those were the two hardest things for me to let go. And to be completely honest, they're the first thing that I reintroduced when I got into it because
sorry, Cole, I think I've misled you. I would like you to answer that question about the lion diet.
Yeah.
Yeah. You were talking about coffee and sweeteners.
Oh yeah.
How long did you do the lion diet?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Is that was just like the worst part about the lion diet for me. The hardest part.
Sorry. You're right. I thought I read it wrong. Okay.
Oh yeah. No. Sorry. That's just where I was going with it. So yeah. So we do it as a group. Danielle and Mike made it 30 days in. I made it 45 days in, and then the second time we did it, I went for 60 days, and then I said, I think I'm good. Is that the only question? Is how long did I go? Did you have a specific question about the lion diet, Kayla?
Well, I think you could talk about your whole experience before, and for someone that's maybe never done it before, what might be the pitfalls?
Pitfalls is I can tell you all the things that are great about it. I don't know. Like, that's kind of the thing. There's really nothing wrong with it. It's awesome. I loved it. There's not a single meal that I didn't enjoy. I licked every single plate clean. I got to a point to where I was eating pretty much the same thing every day, and so I settled on 73% mince ground beef. The reason is because it's so fatty. Me being an athlete, I was also bulking at the time too. I was bulking on the lion diet. I don't think I've known anybody that's done that before, but I like bulking on the lion diet actually because my inflammation's low. That's like my biggest problem is like everybody that I know always gets injured when they bulk. I do. That's where all my injuries have always happened during bulk season. So I'm like, all right, heck with that. I'll keep my inflammation low this time. I'm just gonna have nothing but red meat, water, salt, and yeah. What do you need to build? What do you need to build muscle? Not carbs. You need protein. You need a stimulus. You need water. You need recovery. Right? Is that it? I got that. Carbs isn't one of them. So all right, the lion diet checks all those boxes. I mean, if you can, if it's good for your recovery, which it should be, because you're probably going to be doing a lot of beef tallow, a lot of beef fat, super high in choline, so very, very, very good for your recovery, right? At the end of the day, if you're performing better, you're building muscle better. So great for bulking, great for cutting, obviously. I think it's the fountain of youth, to be completely honest. I don't know. After a month or two of being on it, I kind of start to miss things like, sorry, don't shoot me, but Ghost energy drinks. Like they're delicious. They're really good. So I have those. It's kind of like one of my guilty pleasures. Other than that, like right now, I keep things 90, 90 to 95% red meat. Actually, yesterday, my entire day was nothing but red meat. All I ate the entire day was 73% ground beef. Didn't even cook it. It was raw too. I don't recommend. Yeah, and just for the record, I don't recommend raw meat, but it's like super bioavailable. So I knew that today I'd be speaking at Carnivore-a-thon and I would be playing bass at church. So those are two things that I want to be like super mentally, on my A game for. So I knew that I would sleep better. I knew that my digestion would be better. Actually, I have, I don't know if you want to talk about this at all, but I have like every single meal printed off and written down with notes on it since I've started this contest prep. But yesterday it was 3 pounds, so basically 1,000 grams of 73% ground beef, and that got me all the way up to just under 200 grams of protein. But the reason I did it raw is because I woke up this morning. I was in deeper ketosis. I felt like I slept better. Did a good job playing. Didn't miss any notes. I have 4 strings, and they're the biggest strings, so I have no excuse to hit wrong notes, right?
Right. Brilliant. I'm sorry, but you have got questions about training, so I'm gonna have to ask you because
Let's go training then.
I'm sorry, mate. Hey, Colt, do you recommend working out, lifting weights fasted, or does this make a difference? And then eat afterwards?
Yeah, if it does make a difference, it's very, 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 very marginal. In terms of how fast you put on muscle, yeah, you will build muscle faster if you spread it out. Richard and I talked about this very, very in depth actually on Carnivore Coach's Corner. That's our nutrition podcast. But when you spread your meals out from 1 meal a day to 3 or 4 meals a day, you're going to build muscle faster. You can build muscle on 1 meal a day. It's just not as fast of a boat as spreading it throughout. So that being said, if your goal is to, well, first of all, I need to know if your goal is to build muscle or lose fat. I'm assuming that your goal is to build muscle. Okay. So if that's the case, then I would just generally say that you might want to get used to training with food in your stomach if you're not used to it. That's been kind of a hard adjustment for me. I hate training with food in my stomach personally. I always feel better fasted. And when I say fasted, I mean 12 to 14, 15, 16 hours. It's just I'm talking the next day before having had any food. So normally I'll consume most of my food at night or like close to bedtime, wake up still kind of like semi-bloated. I'm just finishing digesting everything. Like a couple hours later, then I'm ready to go. But like eating a meal and then going and working out, I don't like to do it personally. I feel like it takes away from my workout, mainly because I want blood flow, right? My macros aren't poverty macros, but they're a little bit lower than they are when I'm bulking. So when I get that pump, like I want to keep it, and I want it to be there my entire workout. So if I'm gonna do that and do a good job of maintaining that pump, maintaining my energy, if I have, I want my blood flow going to whatever muscle groups that I'm working. But digesting food, anything requires blood flow, and so I always notice less of a pump and less focus in my workout if I have any food in my stomach at all. Certainly, if there's anything that has fiber in it. If I am gonna train like way later in the day, this is what I did earlier this week, and this is kind of my favorite thing to do is to have bone broth, and I'll poach a couple eggs in it because then like a half hour later, like I still feel fasted, like it feels like I didn't eat anything. And I'll load it up with salt and I'll get an amazing workout off of that. I don't know if those tips help at all.
No, that's a great answer. That's a really good answer. It's exactly what I think people follow you for, because it just makes a lot of sense. Now, this is really nuanced, and if it's difficult to explain, then we'll leave it. But what body weight exercise targets the stomach muscle below the belly button and above the pelvic region? So in Britain, we'd call that the lower abs, I suppose, for want of a better description.
My favorite low ab exercises, there's 3 of them. First one is a reverse crunch. It's kind of an awkward one, but you have your hands up above your head, and instead of crunching forward, you crunch with your pelvis. So that's kind of like my bread and butter lower ab exercise. That, and then lying leg raises with ankle weights. with ankle weights, like the ankle weights that you put on like for your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, just so that you're like burning more energy doing normal stuff throughout the day. Put those on your legs and do lying leg raises with those. That'll hit your hip flexors, your lower abs pretty good. And then toes to sky. So that's lying on your back with your hands over your head on a bench, and then you have your knees like kind of by your chin, and then you straighten out and push your toes towards the sky.
Yeah, I think I call that heels to the heavens. But anyway, right. Okay. What is your favorite exercise for working your chest? Now, he's not, this question from Matthew is not what's the most effective. He's asking what's your favorite. I think that could be two different things, couldn't it?
It's the same one, actually. So the most effective exercise and my favorite exercise for your chest for aesthetics is going to be a dumbbell low incline press. So not on an incline bench. So you can't use a barbell incline bench, or at least the gyms around here, and I assume that they're the same over there. But the angle favors a little bit too much front deltoids than what's necessary and what's optimal for your pecs. So set that bench at you want to find at your gym an adjustable bench and set it at the absolute lowest level that's just above flat. That, and then dumbbells, you want to use dumbbells instead of a bar. So like even if you could use a bar, if you have a barbell rack with an adjustable bench, my opinion, if you're training for hypertrophy, you're talking to a bodybuilding coach, not a powerlifting coach. If you're training for powerlifting or CrossFit, forget everything I just said. But for hypertrophy though, for targeting those upper pecs, which is what most male athletes, Matthew, yeah, okay. So what most male athletes are looking for is that X frame, right? That broad upper body, that smaller waist, and so it's all in the upper pecs for 90% of people. To balance that out and to get that shape. Dumbbells allow you to go to eccentric failure, not just concentric failure. So with a barbell, you finish you finish the exercise here and then you're done, but you're selling yourself short because you can still lower the bar, right? So with dumbbells, you can, after you've hit your last rep, lower it for lower it for 10 seconds. You can do some partials at the bottom. Your last rep should end like this, and then you drop the dumbbells. Drives me nuts when I see people lock out and then drop the dumbbells. I'm like, really? Like,
yeah, and that's partly why I gave up going to the gym. I just got so frustrated watching people. Kayla says, reduce brain fog and depression, which is good. Reduced severe skin allergic reactions, eye and mouth swelling. Those all resolved. But my joints still ache and my weight has not changed. But I've gained unwanted fat, still inflamed. So the joint ache might be coffee. We talked about that earlier. I'll take the coffee out. Have you got any advice for her?
Yeah, I just need to know like what she's eating. There's something in her diet that's making her inflamed, and we need to figure out what it is. So if you're eating beef, butter, bacon, and eggs, and you have 2 or 3 plant products outside of that, and like one of them is coffee, try cutting out coffee for a week. Try cutting out the onions or whatever else is still in your diet for a week, and troubleshoot it. There's something in your diet that's probably coming from a plant that your body's saying, "Hey, stop eating this."
Great advice, Colt. Great. So, Richard, we have in the waiting room Jake Thomas, who is your guest, I believe. You know Jake. Can you message him to put his camera on, and then we can get him into the studio because Colt knows him.
Yes, I can indeed.
Do I get to stay on and say hi to him real quick?
For sure.
Cool.
I mean, we could put him on, see if it wakes him up. Let's have a look. Because no, there you go. We'll wait till it comes. But yeah, so you're having a good time there, Colt. Have you settled into your new place and everything, and got your business running nicely?
Yeah, we've been here close to, I think, just close to a year now. I don't know if it's been officially a year, but yeah, we had started Carnivore Coaches Corner, and we're about 10 or 15 sessions into that, and we've published one a week ever since then. So that's basically like my timeline, and yeah, we're at 60 some sessions now. So I think that we've been here about a year, to answer your question.
Yeah. It was great to have you back a year later. Don't worry, we're going to get Jake on. I can see he switched his camera on, but he's not sitting there yet.
Putting this on, guys. Every single guest has just been absolutely phenomenal. I've been learning a ton. So I just want to say thanks a lot.
Yeah, every guest has. Muscle growth fasted, 23/1 versus eating when hungry.
Oh,
What
yeah.
So, eat hungry or just have that regime?
So I think she's asking 1 meal a day versus intuitive eating, which is better for
Yes, yeah, that's it. Yep.
for muscle growth. Okay, yeah, definitely intuitive eating. Especially if your goal is to build muscle, you can build muscle on 1 meal a day. It's a slower boat, but if you're doing it and you like it, you like 1 meal a day. That's your decision. You know, what's most important to you in your quality of life? Do you want to see as much muscle as you can, as fast as you can? Yeah, then spread those meals out throughout the day for sure. Are you one of those people that just loves intermittent fasting and you're like, you know what? I don't know. I kind of feel like I would like to have a little more muscle mass. Keep doing 1 meal a day and just push yourself harder in the gym. Eat to satiety during that 1 hour eating window. So eat as much protein as you can first until protein sounds gross, and like not highly palatable protein like protein bars or Quest bars, but like actual real protein like from red meat. And then eat as much fat from either dairy or other animal sources until that doesn't taste good anymore either. And you should be able to build muscle just fine doing that. And if not, then push the envelope a little bit. Okay, you get full eating beef, eat a couple more spoonfuls of it. You get full eating butter, eat a couple more spoonfuls of it.
Yeah, I think you're right with the 1 meal a day regime, which a lot of people do promote, and I get it. I've done it, and it is good. If you're building muscle, it is difficult to get enough protein in. That's not because there's studies saying you can't assimilate it, you can't absorb it, because that's all tosh. You can easily do 100 grams of protein in one sitting and absorb it. That's been proven. But I just don't like eating that.
I prove it every day.
Yeah, but I don't like that volume. I like to, so I'm just trying to keep it real. When we're talking about health, you know, it is that net benefit thing. We're still trying to enjoy our life, you know, so you want to make sure, it depends what your goal is. If you want to be the ultimate bodybuilder and nothing else matters, then you do it 100% exactly what you need to do. But if you're just somebody that wants to look good on the beach, wants to have friends, doesn't want to be too stressed about it, then I think eating intuitively is much better for you, because it just gives you more flexibility. But anyway, I'm padding out because I'm still waiting for Jake to sit down. I don't want to put a picture of his chair on, so we'll just wait for Jake to get onto his camera. But Colt, is there any way you could just wrap up your section to say where we can meet you and
yeah, definitely
get in touch?
Let's see. Depends what kind of content you're how you like to read your content or listen to it rather. So I'm pretty much everywhere. Instagram, Colt Milton. That is COLTMILTON. I do a weekly newsletter. Just what I've been learning throughout the week. Athlete highlights. I just kind of type up something motivational. So admin@supersetyourlife.com. Supersetyourlife.com is my website, and Carnivore Coaches Corner is our podcast. Richard and I co-host that, and that's available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere else.